Why are the legendary Hemi engines disappearing? While the government is often to be blamed, it is not the sole reason. Missed opportunities, corporate missteps, and a lack of innovation within Chrysler corporate has led to the downfall of the Hemi engine. While their competitors innovated, Chrysler failed to develop a new modern Hemi. And so I'm going to give you guys 9 bad decisions that led to the demise of the legendary Hemi engine. Now, let's clear the air right here from the start. It is not the government's fault 100% that Chrysler, now Stellantis, is ditching the V8 in their most popular vehicles next year. I've seen people pointing the fingers at the government for all of Stellantis emissions issues and fines and V8 troubles, but Ford and GM are still developing V8 engines to power the Mustang and the C8 Corvette next year. I guess the government forgot to tell those other members of the big three to stop putting money into V8 production. It's easy to blame the EPA for Stellantis costing EPA credits, but let's focus on the root cause of a problem: a terrible decision to not update the Hemi years ago. The 5.7 Hemi, for example, has been mostly unchanged since 2009 when they added all the variable valve timing additions. That's like 14 years ago. The 6.4 liter Hemi, or 392, whichever vehicle that you're putting this engine in, has been mostly unchanged since 2011. That's a long time ago. And the 6.2 liter Hemi Hellcat engine, that went through a couple variations since 2015, but that was only to make the high output variant. Is now in the Red Eye, the Super Stock, and the Demon, and also the baby Elephant crate engines. Chrysler must have been on vacation when the Obama administration passed stricter emissions regulations. Did they think they could just Hellcat everything, rake in the cash, and buy emissions credits like they were just souvenirs from the government gift shop? And unfortunately, reality hit hard, profits dwindled, and the future of the Hemi engine is over. Just look at this crazy history. Let's look at the roller coaster ride that is Chrysler history over the last 25 years. Mercedes-Benz wanted to unmerge from them after creating Daimler Chrysler. Yes, I mean, that really happened. Talk about relationship drama. And then came Fiat, the knight in shining armor, the second company from Europe to take over, merge, saving Chrysler from another round of bad decisions and financial issues. I'll skip over the whole part where FCA was sweating Maribera and GM, trying to merge with them multiple times, and her having to turn them down and people going to jail over scandal stuff. We'll just skip that one. And we'll arrive right here at Peugeot, or however you say that European name. I'm not European. But they're the third European company to join the automotive drama that is Chrysler. And now since then, they took over FCA. I really gotta get the check. I mean, they merged as equals, even though the FCA CEO left 9 months after the merger. No one has filled a spot as head of FCA or Stellantis North America. The Chrysler name is gone from the corporate structure of Stellantis company name. And they dropped the bombshell really in month 1 that the Hellcat days are numbered, this SRT is disbanded, and then here we go in the last 3 years for Dodge. All we got was a Alfa Romeo Dodge Hornet and a Charter Daytona electric car with an HEK system in the exhaust pipe.
How much money, R&D money, did you put into that sound system? You know,
no, for I'll never too much.
I'm not even gonna get into the little pieces of glass that you gotta buy in order to tune this EV for more power, even though no one's adding any parts to it. So is it the government's fault, or is it just bad decisions from the top? The Hemi's downfall is not solely the government's doing. People hesitate to point fingers at the company themselves, fearing they'll miss out on press events, early vehicle access, and interviews, costing them money and YouTube views. That is why the burning question remains unanswered. Why didn't Dodge develop a new fuel-efficient Hemi or a Hemi hybrid for the next-gen cars? Couldn't some of those millions of dollars wasted on the various projects be used to make a new modern Hemi? Tim Kuniskis spilled the beans himself, revealing that Dodge scrapped multiple prototypes of a next-gen Challenger and Charger.
And in fact, I was told by a designer in town here that he even saw them, that you guys had fully redesigned the Charger and Challenger that were supposed to come out like a year or even 2 years ago. That never happened. Why? What was the decision process to say, no, even though the new ones are designed, we're not going to go forward with them?
So there was two paths, right? There was the Giorgio path that we walked away from because it wasn't going to give us a separation from the competition. So that one was a very easy decision for us. Why spend a bunch of money just to go compete head on? Bad idea. At least we believed it was a bad idea. And then the second one was invest a lot of money into the L-Car platform to change that. We did have one that was very revolutionary that we actually showed to dealers, and we didn't end up moving forward with it. We had a very important decision point. In 2013, we had to decide, are we going to go and move the Charger and Challenger onto the Giorgio platform? And on the Giorgio platform, we would have ended up with a car that, quite frankly, would have been lighter, would have handled better. It would have done a lot of the things that people said that we were kind of laggards to the competition on. But we looked at it and we said, we can do that, but if we do that, we're going to go and compete head on with the Mustang and the Camaro. And quite frankly, those are great cars. They're fantastic cars. Why would we want to go fight with them in their sandbox? Let's stay in our sandbox.
And I cannot believe he admitted on camera that Dodge was so scared of the Mustang and lackluster at best Camaro that they abandoned the idea of having a smaller vehicle to compete head to head with those two cars. And let's not forget the R&D money that went down the drain with the original Elephant, which barely anyone can get their hands on. I mean, how many Elephants has anyone actually seen in the wild? Then we got the canceled 426 Hemi that was supposed to go in the Scat Pack and the Baby TRX. That engine never came out. Then we got the Drag Pack engine that isn't even street legal. That's really gonna help out the next gen cars. And let's not get started on the 4 Elephant crate engines nowhere to be found, and none of those are street legal as well. If you count them up, that is 9 wasted attempts, including prototypes, canceled projects, and crate engines that does no one any good unless we're competing on who has the best parts department. Now, if I was Butter the CEO, how about making a new Viper to challenge the Corvette? That would have been way better money spent than making 2 wasted prototypes, or maybe 3 or 4 of them, depending on how you read Tim Kuniskis' answer in that interview. How about smaller cars that rival the Mustang Camaro? Stop being scared of them. How about a convertible Challenger from the factory? Maybe all-wheel drive Hellcats? Nope, all these are just missed opportunities. So was it the government that kept Chrysler from thinking these new opportunities or creating fuel-efficient or hybrid Hemi engines? Or was it just questionable decisions from the top? If it wasn't for Mercedes-Benz buyout, I mean, the merger, you can say goodbye to the Challenger and Charger as we know them. They both ride on the modified version of the Mercedes-Benz platform. Without the FCA buyout, I mean merger, we wouldn't have the Hellcat engine. And now we're in the midst of another buyout, I mean merger, and that made way for the legendary Demon 170. So can you believe it? It seems that fresh blood from outside of Chrysler injected life into some of the most iconic vehicles of the last 25 years. That argument that it is the government's fault would have held a lot more water if the Mustang didn't have a new V8 coming and the Corvette still was not introducing new V8 engines. I mean, and these engines are still coming after 2024. And you can't use the pandemic as an excuse for no more V8s from Dodge, because the Corvette came out in 2020 and since then it has 3 different engine variants, not just the same engine, 3 different cars. And these engines are in street vehicles that are emissions legal, and not a new lineup of several crate engines that does no one any good, that won't go into a production car. Good job, Dodge. I would love to be a journalist and ask Tim Kuniskis himself, why the heck were you not developing a new Hemi to pass emissions? Tim said during Speed Week that they studied the rule book
We didn't ask for the rules to change. We didn't want them to change, but they did. And we can try to outrun them, but that would be a 9-second pass straight into extinction. Or we can do what we did. Read their rules, study their rules, find their gray areas, then unleash the Banshee.
But I guess they skipped the chapter on internal combustion engines. Instead of wasting all that money on 5 elephants that canceled 426 Hemi project and that drag pack engine, Dodge could develop a new Hemi alongside the Hurricane engines. The Hurricanes are aluminum, they have special coatings in them, they got direct injection, they got twin turbos, and no one thought to take that same technology and apply it to maybe a smaller Hemi, maybe a 5-liter or a 6-liter aluminum V8 Hemi engine, targeted let's say about 500 horsepower naturally aspirated, and you can probably put that in a scat pack. Maybe make some changes to the block, make it rev a little bit higher, and then let's take the horsepower up about 650, and then you can pretty much make that into a Hellcat replacement. Then we can use the twin turbos, throw them twin turbos on, make around 800 horsepower, and there goes your replacement for the red eye. And let's say we'll bring the super stock back and put that in a red eye and super stock. And then let's say, you know, we develop a hybrid system. Let's spitball here. And let's say we make a hybrid system to make around 700 horsepower or maybe 1,000 horsepower combined, depending on which engine the hybrid motors are paired with. And let's say they'll make around 20 miles of EV range. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's pretty much the exact same thing that Chevy is doing with the C8 Stingray, the Z06, the E-Ray, the ZL1, and the future Zora model. So that's odd that somebody else figured this out, but not the masterminds at Dodge, who created one of the greatest engines ever. Couldn't figure out some kind of similar strategy. Huh. So I ask you guys again, is it the government's fault no one thought to make a new Hemi? This strategy is working pretty good so far for Chevy. Just saying. I haven't seen a single journalist ask this basic question because it is laughable that every other member of the big three will have a V8 engine in their performance vehicles next year, and all of them are still developing V8 engines. But it's the government's fault for all the compliance fines and no new Hemi engine from the minds of Chrysler corporate. But no one asked that question because you don't bite the D that feeds you. And in this case, the D stands for Dodge. But if you found this video helpful, make sure you help a butter out and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you already done so. And until the next video, I'm out.